And we are live, and hello and welcome to the Douding Thomas Monthly Recap for November of 2021. Can you believe it is November already? It is crazy. And joining me super early in the morning here, not really super early, but considering it's Thanksgiving weekend, it's a little super early, but joining me is Clifton M. Thomas. Cliff, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is an early morning podcast on the Saturday. So I don't know. I've been kind of kicking back and forth like what to call. Do you call this like the Saturday of Black Friday, or like is this like deals week, Black Weekend? I don't know what to call this.
It's the lull in between Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Yeah, I know, and it's just so weird because it's
as I like to call it, letting not having to shave for a few days.
Indeed.
Pretty nice.
Because like I was writing my script for this weekend, and I'm like, I just want it's the weekend of Black Friday. No, that doesn't work. It's the Black Sunday. That's not a thing. Is it Cyber Sunday? I don't know.
Black Sunday is a thing, but it's an album from the 90s.
Fair enough. Yeah. So it's like and you know what? I'm still writing that script as we speak. So I guess we'll find out what I land on later.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you are watching this live, thank you very much. But for everybody else, this will be coming out in December. So we're going to be talking about some things that are going to happen tomorrow that will have happened 10 days ago. Isn't it fun how that works out? But
it's the future.
It is. Meantime, in personal news, I'm enjoying my last weekend as a non-worker until I go full steam ahead with Digital Trends. And I logged into my Digital Trends email for the first time yesterday after setting up the laptop. And it's like meeting. I'm like, oh, corporate life. I remember you. So like, it's just wall-to-wall invitations for like the first 2 weeks of like, meet with this person. So that's going to be fun.
Onboarding is always a good time.
Indeed,
I don't know if I mean that or not.
And in the meantime, how is it November already? This is so weird.
How is it almost December, for that matter?
This is going to be one of those years like, this is total tangent, but that's because it's 9:30 in the morning. But this is going to be one of those years I get the feeling like my family celebrates Christmas, and I think yours does too. And like I have these on years and off years of like feeling the Christmas spirit and not feeling the Christmas spirit. And I get the feeling this is going to be an off year for me, just because like the whole year kind of snuck up on me. And at the same time, we're going to Disney 2 days after Christmas. So it's going to be like, I'm going to be looking past Christmas to get to Disney. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't have anything to look forward to that far out. So for me, it's just I think I'm just looking forward to the little respites from work.
Yeah,
and the stuff like having 4 days off in a row is nice. Yeah, right.
So it's
just those the little things at this point. So my family has a tradition where we go and we get our Christmas tree the day after. So on Black Friday, actually. So that the tree is actually going to be decorated today. I got it in the stand, which is always like the biggest thing, getting it balanced and everything. And then we kind of let it floof out, and then
make sure there's no squirrels in there.
Right, exactly. So, but I think once that happens and we get the house decorated, I'll be in a little bit more in the Christmas spirit. So yeah, right now I'm just kind of, it's like it's there, and I can see it coming. But yeah, I'm not feeling too Scrooges this year. We'll see.
Well, that's good. So maybe one of us can maintain. So anyway, so yeah, we've had a November.
It was indeed a November.
And we started off November with our iPhone 13 Pro review, which is a month earlier than it was last year. So that's good.
That means more than a month ago. Golly.
I know, right? But yeah, we were just talking, and it's funny, and it kind of sucks actually, because I was just thinking to myself the other day, like there was some part of the iPhone that I don't feel like we really touched on in the review, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. So I guess we'll continue to not touch on it. But just like in general, I began. What I'm gonna say, what I am gonna say is because we covered the Pixel 6 last month, but You know, this year is the like probably like the third year. This will be the third year in which I'll do the iOS Android, transition thing.
Right.
And like, man, last year was easy. Like last year, I had the iPhone 12 Pro. It was exciting. It was cool. And like I used that all through March, no problem. This year, I've got the Pixel 6 kind of waving at me from over here saying, yo, you wanna. Come on. Come on, you dirty girl. Come on over here. And it's like, man, the Pixel 6 is just so hot. Like, I am so crushing on this phone, like unashamedly. I'm kind of crushing on this phone. And you know what? It's the same thing as like the Pixel 4a. I kind of don't know why. Like it's it's a little bit bigger than I normally want in a phone, and it doesn't even have the periscope lens, but for some reason, like the Pixel 6 is just really tempting me to like just come over here, use this. Don't worry about that iPhone. Yeah, don't you don't need that. I'm here to fulfill all your needs.
I agree. Obviously, I'm not coming from iOS and having that, that what is already an awesome phone. But I did have the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra for a long time. Honestly, and I did end up selling it to get the Pixel 6 just because it's something about the promise of tensor and all that just had me just it has lived up to my expectations so far. I would say sometimes I do wish I had the telephoto, but I really do like this phone, and it's gotten me excited about doing smartphone photography again. I got a chance to take some pictures of family when my parents were here for Thanksgiving, and it just
I saw those.
It really just, without even having to touch them, they're just, the pictures are, excuse me, without having to touch them, the pictures are just so good right out of the camera. I mean, I'm very impressed. So hopefully get a chance to going down to visit family today. Nice. And so hopefully I'll get a chance to shoot with it again. Just it really does get me excited about capturing moments, and there's very few phones that get me that excited about taking pictures more than a Pixel does, and specifically the Pixel 6. So I really have enjoyed my time with this phone so far.
And did I show you I got the Kylo Ren phone case for the Pixel 6? This is from Caseology. So my old editor Jeremy, man, I have to call him my old editor now. That sucks. Anyway, my old editor from Android Central, Jeremy, was showing off his pictures of his Kylo Ren, and it's not called a Kylo Ren. It's just a red and black case. But right. But he was calling it the Kylo Ren case, and I'm like, oh, that is so awesome. And so like I went to Caseology and it was all sold out, and I'm like, oh man, it's all sold out. And Caseology hit me up in DMs and like, well, hey, we like you both. Nice. So they sent that over along with some other cases for the iPhone 13 that I still need to do the review roundup, the case roundup for YouTube, which I am going to do. I swear to God, I am going to do that, but it's just not during November, not during the month that I had the most time to do it. That's so so I am doing a case roundup for the iPhone 13. Watch for that probably in the next couple of weeks, and in between meetings I'll do that. So it's all good. So, but like, just getting back to the iPhone, like, it's not that the iPhone is bad. It's just, it's kind of, it's, and it's almost a trope to say this, but it's a little stale. It's like a little bit, I feel like, I think the main reason was because like I've been learning iOS a little bit more and a little bit more every time I use it. So like now I kind of feel like I have it down. So it's like I'm less excited about it. And I set up sleep tracking on my Apple Watch, which, by the way, if you were wondering how I was managing to get 2 days out of an Apple Watch, it's because I hadn't set up sleep tracking yet. And like that just that just killed battery life. Absolutely. But yeah, so like the Apple Watch still has me a lot more excited than the iPhone does, and I just wish that there was a way to make the Apple Watch work with a Pixel 6, but there is not.
I would say that there is no way to do that outside of like a European government mandate or something, in the same way
Yeah.
that like right to repair has been kind of been forced upon Apple. So,
and like, part of me would be excited about the prospect of like a Pixel Watch, because maybe Google could do what Apple did and like make them really work seamlessly together, but the app support still isn't there. Like there's and that's the thing about the Apple Watch, is the app support is just so good. And like that's on Android, it is not so good.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, yeah, kind of, if I think of what I wanted to talk about with the iPhone, maybe I can mention it in like a mini segment on the podcast later on. But I was just thinking like, man, there's something that we didn't touch on, and I don't remember what it is.
Well, what you mentioned actually is exactly what I was going to say, though. Is I feel like your Apple excitement this year really has been with the Apple Watch, and that I can understand with the iPhone 13, even with the Pro, because it is sort of the talk here on the TikTok cycle for Apple, and so the hardware design is not really updated. It's just new colors, and I mean, it's beyond that, but it still looks a lot like the 12 series, and so it's harder to get excited about it because at least on the software side compared to Android 12, because Android 12 has a lot of new pretty. It's the belle of the ball this year when it comes to software. So
very true. And I think like when I go to Disney this year, I think I am going to do like I think I'm going to make the theme of my Disney trip an iPhone versus Pixel like photo comparison. Like, which phone was I happier to have like at Disney while I was capturing all these memories. So that'll be another YouTube video that I probably put off making. But we'll no, seriously, I'll make the video. And I think like it would be better if I had a Pixel 6 Pro, just because they have like similar telephoto capabilities as well, but I think that's also another arrow in the quiver of Pixel. If it can manage to do a really good job, then that's just another reason to buy this now for Black Friday weekend. $500 phone. Like at $600, this phone is a steal. At $500, you honestly should be arrested just for buying it. It's like
right, exactly.
It's just I mean, God, Pixel, you are doing so many things. Did I say God? I meant Google. God, Google, you're doing so many good things with this phone, especially with the aggressive price point. So keep up that aggressiveness next year.
Yes, and I think they will. I think I would be very disappointed in Google if this was sort of a way to get people to start thinking about Pixel again, and then the price just creeps up, and then they'll add features to it, and then you can't see it here, but I'm doing like the air quotes, and then it's like $50 and $100, kind of similar. I hope it's not like OnePlus where every year it just gets a little bit more expensive. And we're like, hey, wait a minute.
And like related, can you believe that they're going to make a Pixel 6a? Like, what are they going to do to make this cheaper? Now I've heard that they might downgrade the camera setup and probably go back to like 12 megapixel sensors, or like probably like Pixel pre-6 camera hardware.
Right.
But I mean, like even that wasn't that bad.
I mean, what's actually got me a little I don't want to say annoyed, but is the fact that it's not going to have its own design language. I do like that they're going to continue the at least according to the leaks of the 6, that it's going to have a similar style to the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro. But I mean, it looks just like, at least in the renders, it looks just like the Pixel 6. It's like if you bought the Mustang GT, then the regular Mustang looks just like your Mustang. You're like, well, what did I need all?
Because you can go faster. But yeah. So anyway, and I like how we spent this entire iPhone segment talking about the Pixel 6. So that's just how we roll here on the benefit of a Douding Thomas monthly recap. So let's let's fast forward. Now, the next week we talked about the Xiaomi phone, the Redmi 10, which, I mean, that was and you know what, by the way, I've been podcasting for what, 7 years now, something like that. I've worked on and / built like 6 different shows. I only just this week learned that what we're doing right now is called a panel podcast. Did you know that?
I did not.
I mean, it makes sense. Like you and I, like internally, we call it like a back and forth, or I used to call it like three guys and a mic, basically. But yeah, right. Panel podcast, much more elegant name. So that's what we're doing right now.
Like I like them.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. And by the way, for those of you who may or may not have noticed, Cliff and I have done a panel, air quotes, panel podcast for each of the last 4 phone reviews that we've done.
That's right.
So yeah, we did the Xiaomi and the iPhone 13, and I deleted everything before November in my editorial calendar, so I don't remember. But like, we've done panel podcasts for those, and the reason is because patreon.com/benefit of a doubt, we ran a vote, we ran a poll there for current patrons to say, hey, what do you prefer? Like, do you want me to like just drone on about a phone for 15 minutes, or do you want Cliff and I to talk back and forth about it? Now, I didn't exactly frame it like that, because the way that frames it, I have a clear favorite.
Yeah.
I'm actually fine either way. Like, I mean, it's a panel podcast is a little bit less work because I don't have to like write out 20 minutes of talking. So like it's a little bit okay in that regard, but they both have their pluses and minuses, honestly. But the patron said, we like it when you get together with Cliff. And I said, you know what? I like it when I get together with Cliff. So let's get together with Cliff. And so we've done that for the last 4. And I'm kind of interested to hear like what the rest of the world kind of thinks about this. So if you have any thoughts, you can hit us up at Twitter, Dead Technology or Clifton M. Thomas, or, I know Crazy Thought at Benefit of Doubt on Twitter if you want. So any of those, hit us up there, or, host at benefitofadoubt.com will get you to my email address. So let me know what you think. If you're digging this, cool. If you want to go back to the other style, the more air quotes narrative style, then I'm happy to do that too. So
yeah, if you like a mix, or if there's certain phones that you want to hear, certain phones you want with a certain style and certain phone, we can mix it up.
Yep, we can throw it into a hat and just jiggle it around. So
speaking of mix, did you want to talk about Xiaomi?
Actually, no. Because because we did this panel podcast style, we kind of covered like everything that we would normally cover, right. Unless you have any other final thoughts about it. But what I wanted to kind of focus on was the Soundcore glasses that ran alongside that, like the kind of mini review, the tech. Yeah, I believe it was. And the main reason is because like I've been curious about glasses. So actually, before I dive into this, did you have any final thoughts on the Xiaomi? Or I think we covered a lot of it.
I think I said everything I needed to say about it. I was thinking about that phone for like a week afterwards, just because it had been probably 2 weeks since I had used it as my daily driver. If anything, I wish that Xiaomi phones were like officially available in North America, because I think in the absence of, and this is really what I was thinking about, is the success of that. Now that LG is gone from the market, Motorola has moved up into that. I guess it's like the number 3 spot, something like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I've seen some editorials that were exactly what I was thinking, that it's not necessarily because of anything that Moto was doing outright. It's just that they do have a bunch of well-priced devices, but they don't have a particularly great like update policy and things like that. And I think consumers deserve better. And I think with competition from Xiaomi, I think that it could really improve the overall quality of devices from multiple manufacturers that we're getting here in this market, especially for people who don't want to buy flagships. So
yeah, very true, very true. So, and I think there's maybe a podcast to be had to talk about the disparity between consumers of flagship level devices versus consumers of everything else, and
Right.
like how the flagship level devices get the most attention, but in reality the sales are not nearly what they are to the mid-range and below.
Right.
And like, we'll go on and talk about, for 40 minutes we'll talk about the iPhone 13 Pro, whereas like the average consumer, if you want to use the air quotes, are still probably rocking like an iPhone 10R or something
Right.
like that, which is still a respectable phone. Like, and did you see, I don't know if you saw this, but am I going to talk about this week? I don't remember, but there's a mod kit that you can buy on online for like $40, where you can take the internals of an iPhone 10R and put them into what amounts to an iPhone 13 case. And so like it basically looks like you have an iPhone 13, but the internals are like an iPhone 10R. It's actually like a lot easier than it really should be.
It's like a reverse hot rod.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, you're right, because you're taking the internals of an inferior thing. I guess just for a new look. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I can see that. But I mean, you could also achieve something like that just by putting a cool looking case on your XR.
Yeah. So you know what? I
But
thought
that
I
is
had
interesting.
this. I thought I had this in my news rundown, but I'm not seeing it. So maybe I should add that.
I do think it is neat that they
yeah.
got that the guy in I believe it was Switzerland got USB-C going on a
Oh
iPhone 10.
yeah. That
And
dude.
then he has actually put the instructions for it on GitHub so that someone else can do it. He did auction off his phone, I think, but
what was the final price on that?
it was like $80-something thousand.
I thought it was over 100.
It could be
iPhone USB-C. Maybe take those out later, but when you search for iPhone now, $86,001. So yeah, that's crazy. And yeah, that was just a couple weeks ago, but yeah. So like, Apple, look at that. If you made an iPhone with USB-C, you could sell it for $86,000, Apple.
wow.
I'm just saying. Anyway, yeah, so
just
we
one-offs.
right, exactly. All right, so Soundcore. I got the Soundcore frames from my friends over at Anchor, and the main reason why I wanted to test these out was all these different like AR glasses and sunglasses, audio sunglasses and stuff like that. I've always been really interested in them, but at the same time, I've been extremely hesitant. And the Soundcore frames kind of proved that I was right all along, because like, you can wear these sunglasses when you're out, driving around and listening to podcasts and everything like that. But what happens when you need to go into a store? Or what happens when you need to go inside somewhere else? My use case is obviously a store, but like, what happens when you have to go inside somewhere? You can either A, look like a D-bag walking around with sunglasses inside, or B, as I put it, you can look like a teenage girl by sticking up your glasses up in your hair like this. And it's like, that's what I ended up having to do. And the problem is like, Soundcore sends you or they don't send you, but like you can buy any of these frames to go on these, and it's fairly easy to transition them. You basically just pull the arm off and stick it onto the other thing. But the problem is, like, you don't want to do that when you're walking into Target.
I was going to say, it seems like a lot of work just to not have sunglasses when, like you said, you could just put them up on top of your head.
Right. I mean, you look stupid when you put them up on your head, but I'm 44 years old, so I don't care if I look stupid.
Also, do you look any less stupid when someone walks by and you're in your car going, like, putting the arms on new glasses?
Exactly. I mean, it's just, and like that's the problem that they have that nobody has solved yet. Like Soundcore's frames are pretty decently priced at they're like $200, and each of these different, I guess, face plates or whatever you want to call them, they're like, I want to say they go for like $50 a piece. So you could get like one with clear lenses and one with sunglasses if you wanted them. Kind of depends on your particular use case. Me, I just have them as sunglasses. But like then comes the time when I want to walk into a store and I'm like, well, shoot, I have to take these off now. So like, I did go to my optometrist and ask them like how much it would cost to put in like transition lenses, because you can do that. Like you can take, this, you can take any of these really and just, take them there and say, put transition lens. But it was like with my insurance, it was like $250. Jeez. And I'm like, to buy a $200 set of eyeglass frames and then put another $250 worth of lenses in them, and then what? They, they fall out of my pocket while I'm riding my bike, and that's like at least $200, if not $400 down the drain. So it's like, yeah, they haven't solved that problem yet. And I think what Soundcore or somebody needs to do is like figure out a way to build transition lenses for less than like $250. If they could have like one of these, like let's say they had one of these frame faces for like $100, like maybe $100 premium over like what you would normally buy the frames for. I could see that, like that for $300, that would be a legit good product. I think like
they could also, I would think, partner with someone like I can't think of the name of the companies off the top of my head, so let me just start that over. So they could partner with one of the online optical like companies like that.
Like Warby Parker or something.
Warby
like
Parker
that.
Is the exactly was
I don't even think that's the right name, but it's something like
Warby
that.
Parker, because I've ordered glasses
okay.
from them before. Because really all you would have to is just make sure that that whatever they're making is compatible with your with the, I guess, the earpieces in order to hook them on, and that way you could actually get optical glass and with an option for to have sunglasses that are both maybe transition lenses, and then also that actually work if you wear glasses on a
the other thing is you could put like prescription lenses into one of these things, and then like maybe like get a clip-on sunglass or something like that, because they make those, and some of those don't look too bad. My wife uses those every now and then because she wears prescription lenses, and so she doesn't have prescription sunglasses. So she uses the clip-ons every now and then. But like we live in Chicago, so like the bright sunny days are a little bit less common than they would be, like, say, in a Florida or something like that.
Right.
So, like, yeah, I mean, you're right. There's an opportunity here, and I'm not sure what the opportunity is, but somebody needs to. I think the Warby Parker idea is a fantastic idea. Just offer them as like an option for the arms, and like that would be pretty baller.
I think what you really need is just to continue if you're Anchor and Soundcore, and continue to offer that same hookup, right? So that if you 2 years down the road, if they come out with a new version, they're still compatible with the glasses that you paid for or something like that.
Exactly. Right. Then you can just buy the arms for $150 or something like that, and get a new sound experience. Now, there's 4 different speakers on the earpieces. So like there's one right in front of your ear, there's one right behind your ear, and the same on the other side. And so like people can hear what you're listening to if they're like standing next to you. Like my son was riding in the car with me, and he was like able to listen in on the podcast that I was listening to. Even when I turned on privacy mode, that didn't help all that much. But all the same, like, and like the sound quality itself is rather hollow sounding, because they're not enclosed, they're not going straight into your eardrums, so you get like a lot of kind of like an open back headphone, but a little bit worse sound quality, because it is kind of a hollow sound. So it's great for podcasts, probably not as great. So if you're like a real audiophile, like a real music file, and you want to like, music file is not a word, but if you wanted to, like, if you like really want to enjoy your music, then these are not the thing. But if you want to like drive along and listen to some tunes, that'll be fine. I think for that particular use case, you just need to know what you're getting going in. And so you're not going to get super heavy bass. You're not going to get, you're not going to get really tight sound quality that you will from like a Liberty Pro 3s, which, by the way, that's a review coming up this weekend. So So
I think
yeah.
it's just like with any product that has sort of a limited appeal in the first place, but just you definitely have trade-offs that you're making. You just have to understand what those are going on.
Yep. Yeah. So but all the same, like, so the main question that I wanted answered was, has Soundcore solved this problem? The answer is no, and I think we can move on. So but and actually, after we talked about that, we sat down with Russell Holly, again, friend of the show, and it had been over a year since we'd last talked to him. So I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't realize it had been that long, but we were talking about the metaverse, and like that was one topic that, like, I kind of knew going in, but at the same time, like, going back and listening to it afterwards, there was so much that we didn't cover. Like, because it's just such a huge, it's such a huge concept, and like,
it's a lot to unpack in one podcast, I would say. Yeah,
right.
definitely.
And we touched on this very briefly, but like, it occurred to me, with all the reading that I've done about the metaverse, after the fact, or before the fact and after the fact, but like, it occurred to me, like, my son has been kind of living in the metaverse for the last couple of years now, just by hanging around in Fortnite. Like, Fortnite is kind of a metaverse because it's got the waiting room where you can, like, hang out with your friends, and you have avatars, and then you run around and shoot each other in the head, because that's what kids do these days. But like, and it's such a nebulous concept, and I'm a little bit sad by what Russell was talking about, pointing out that, and I had never made this connection, so I'm glad that he brought that up, was like, Apple really messed with Facebook's business model. With Apple beating, like, the privacy drum, and like asking apps not to track, between apps and stuff like that. So like, denying Facebook that the wealth of data that Facebook could then use to turn around and give you ads. Now Facebook is like, okay, well then I guess we're going to have to control the hardware, and we're going to have to control this narrative, so that, like, we can just have whatever data that we want. And so that could be a large, and probably is, I should say, a large reason as to why Facebook is really pushing on this metaverse, to get this, out there, and to, like, yeah.
I mean, the question since smartphones have kind of become a mature, or a more mature market, is, what's next? For a long time, people said wearables, which I guess in part that would be part of what the metaverse is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, because they purchased Oculus, and because they've basically been buying up a ton of IP
developers,
they have such a huge advantage right now, it seems like, over any other company that wants to come into the space. I also think if you look at them rebranding themselves as Meta, this is kind of an aside, having listened to your conversation with Russell, I think this is something that you guys didn't really touch on, so I thought maybe I could offer it. And that's that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of similar to what Google has done with Alphabet, in that it's protecting themselves a little bit from the government, because the government right now is looking hard at Google, at Apple a little bit, a lot at Facebook, and other companies of that ilk, right? Even Microsoft, in terms of them having monopolies over the spaces within which they operate. And so if Facebook buries the actual, like, Facebook component of their company inside a larger, rebranded conglomerate, then it becomes easier to bust them up and still maintain what they're doing, I think. Which I think that's why Google in part did that with Alphabet. And so I think some of the rebranding of Meta, which is really, it's not, the Metaverse is not just them. Metaverse, I think, is, which I didn't even realize. I honestly had no idea what the Metaverse was until I listened to y'all's conversation. But I do think it's a hedge to protect themselves from I think what is inevitably going to be antitrust legislation, whether it's from the United States government or from Europe pushing back against all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, like when you think about like Google and Alphabet and Facebook and Meta, can you imagine a world where Apple is not Apple? Like where
No.
Apple has to like make itself like a sub brand. Like I can't even picture that. Like trying to like Apple trying to make like like an iPhone business and a MacBook business and a music services business. Like I can't even imagine like seeing Apple go through that kind of breakup, like similar to what Google and Meta have both done.
I can't, and I think Apple has done their own hedge by adopting the sort of corporate stance of, we don't sell your information, we don't use your information, that privacy thing that they've really I think for one thing it's an appeal that has appeal to people who are privacy conscious. But yeah, I think that's also just if they push that narrative enough, it may be enough to prevent them from getting some of the hard looks that the governments may, because and of course they don't have the breadth of services that and are not dominant in search and the like that the previously mentioned companies like Facebook and Google are. I think if there's any kind of government intervention with them, it's probably going to be separating Apple's core business and like hardware business from the App Store, or forcing them to open it up. That's probably about as far as I could really go. Anyway, I know this is kind of, like I said, this was kind of an aside, but it was that's really what I was thinking about once I had listened to the interview. But it was a really good interview, and like I said, I honestly had never thought about when I think about living so much of your life in like augmented or virtual reality, depending on what you're doing, it almost makes me think of like Second Life.
Okay. It's been a while since we've referenced that, but
I mean, to me, that's like the original Metaverse, where you have an avatar and you're living, including there was like a digital currency and things that you could do within it. And I think it's still going. I think there's probably 3 people out there still living their lives in the Second Life universe. But yeah, so I don't know. How do you feel about this? To me, like, as much as I love technology, I also I kind of draw lines in my life. I don't mind Google using my information because I get returns on it that, at least for now, are worth it to me. But at the same time, I also really do try to. I've been living less of my life on social media, trying to live more in the moment, and so. To me, like the idea of living in like a metaverse where I can see the value of augmented reality as far as like wearing glasses, but it's also something that I can take off and leave behind.
Right.
But I think but kids that are growing up in this now, or people that are younger than us who have kind of grown up in an always connected world may not feel that same way. So
right. Yeah, I think for me, and you're right, like you and I are very different from what our children will do. But like for me, I see the metaverse as being kind of more of like a utility, like something that I can use and then decide to stop using. Like I don't think this is going to be like a continuous I don't think it's going to be like a continuous thing where like I'm getting like AR notifications and like wearing glass. I don't even see myself wearing glasses all the time. Like I can't imagine that. Now it's interesting though, because, just in the last couple of days, I'm like, they usually say like Thanksgiving weekend, there's like nothing going on except for sales. Right. That's not actually true. I saw a couple of reports about, some analysts, I can't remember the person's name, but their last name is Kuo, like Kuo. They're like one of the lead analysts that are usually pretty spot on when it comes to like Apple predictions. And they were saying that Apple wants to replace the iPhone within the next 10 years with AR glasses, and that we're going to see supposedly we're going to see AR glasses as early as next year. But then the idea is then to phase the iPhone out and phase these AR glasses in. And like, I don't know. I mean, that seems very ambitious. And I'm trying to imagine a world in which Tim Cook says up on stage, "This is going to be our last iPhone." Like, I mean, can you imagine that even being said? Like, I can't wrap my mind around that.
I have been saying for 10 years that I really want. I can't see this. I've always been kind of a step behind that, where I just have like one device for all my computing needs, which I can actually see happening with
ambient computing was the name of it.
Ambient computing, exactly, or continuous client.
Yeah.
But then that, which is two separate things, right? But then with a combination of like wireless power, an OS that doesn't just live in your phone because you're always cloud connected, so that you sit down at a console that has a monitor, and then what you had on your phone is then now here
is now on your monitor,
right? That kind of thing. But going to glasses just seems like a big leap to me. Like,
yeah, but then switching back to what Russell was saying, like, you could have a set of glasses that you can put a computer monitor anywhere you want. It doesn't just have to be like sitting down at a computer monitor. You can have a computer monitor in front of your couch. You can have a TV that's 100 inches wide in front of your couch, and like, it doesn't exist there. It's just like, it just only exists when you put on these glasses. And then if you wanted to, go into a more immersive world, then you can take off those glasses and put on the headset and maybe like the Meta gloves and stuff like that. And he was talking about, and it makes perfect sense, like, you're wondering, like, are people going to want to buy these two distinct sets of devices for these two distinct use cases? And he's like, well, yeah, but when you think about it, you don't need $1,000 TV anymore. You don't need $1,000 phone anymore. You don't need $1,000 computer system anymore. So all you're going to need are these like $400 glasses for your work life, and then maybe $1,000 for your metaverse life, when you wait for your immersive life. But like, everything, like from the pictures on your wall to the TVs in each of your rooms, like, you're not going to be sitting there staring at your phone. You're just going to be looking at the virtual TV that you created in front of your face.
So yeah, I can see that working, but I think the social acceptance barrier is going to be huge.
Yeah, you're very right about that.
I just want you to imagine going out to a restaurant and be like, hold on, I've got to take this call, and I'm putting on like a giant pair of, or I've got to do some freelance work. Well, let me put on my goggles, and then like black gloves, and you're like, as your food gets served to you, and you're like blindly reaching over to try to sip on a straw.
I'll even take that a step further. Is if you sit down at a restaurant with a date, and like, suddenly your eyes are staring off over here, because you're like watching the football game or some crap, and like, I think it's going to be one of those things where, like, if you're having a personal interaction with somebody, you better take those damn things off, or people are going to get pissed.
And I mean, we've already seen this with Google Glasses and the like, that they had to add to it to like people know that they were being potentially recorded and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that I think it's going to be almost like a generational thing where, or again, somebody's going to just have grown up, and not necessarily with having used VR or augmented reality stuff, but they're so used to having technology, being connected technology, that integrated into their lives, that this makes a lot of sense. I personally, I like the experience of like being around a display, and as far as like consuming content, right, and like being able to discuss that with my family without having to like take off glasses. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it offers something to me that's better, other than maybe like you were saying, the cost side of it. So something to think about.
So and it's there's so much more that we could talk about this, and maybe we'll pick up a little bit on it maybe we'll pick up a little bit on it next month as well, because like there's so much more that needs to be said about this. And like, you know, while you were talking, I thought of like 4 other points that I wanted to make, but we can't do that because right now we have to do patron shout outs, because that is what we do here on the Benefit of a Doubt podcast. So hello, $5 patrons. We have Zachary Palmer. Thank you very much, Zachary. We have Scott Brady. Scott, thank you so much. We have Neil Wilson. Thank you very much, Neil. We have Mike Hahn, friend of the show, BenderTube. Go check out his Lego building. I think he was just doing one the other day. He's moved on from Batman. I don't remember what he was doing. Anyway, Michael Keeper, damn it. Thank you, Michael. And Josh Stone, thank you, Josh. Chaim, thank you very much, Chaim. And Cliff, for some reason, thank you very much, Cliff.
Hi.
So,
you're welcome.
That is never going to be not funny to me. So just so we're on the same page, that is never going to be. In fact, I imagine a time when like this podcast, you know, gets really huge, and like, you know, we bring on a staff, and like, you know, you're obviously still like co-founder, you know, CTO or whatever, and you're still like a $5 patron for the show. Anyway,
just forget about it, and then it's still good money coming in,
right?
What's
anyway,
this PayPal thing or PayPal charge to?
So and then finally this month, which you know, it's going to be airing tomorrow as we record this, but 10 days ago as you listen to this. But I sat down with my neighbor, you know, Marty Paroli, I think his name was Paroli. I never call him Paroli. The only reason I knew his last name was because he was on Facebook. But no, he's my neighbor. He lives across the street from me, and you know, we've been, you know, talking back and forth about doing something like this, like since the podcast launched. But he owns a chain of gaming stores around the Chicagoland area called Gamers World. And like he and I connected on kind of like another nerd level, because, you know, he used to work for a company called Gamers Paradise, which I used to go to all the time, in the Harlem Irving Plaza. Holla to the hip. And like even before Gamers Paradise, I used to go to the store called Games Plus, and it was like this was during my big Dungeons and Dragons phase when I was you know, preteen, teen, high schooler. And the thing about Games Plus was it was in a suburb, probably like 20 minutes from my house. But like back in the day, see, you have to understand, kids, our parents didn't just automatically drive us everywhere we wanted to go. We had to like have a really good reason to go there. And Games Plus happened to be located between my house and my Aunt Myrtle's house. And so like the 4, 5, 6 times a year that we would drive the epic half-hour trek out to my Aunt Myrtle's house, we would stop at Games Plus along the way, because it was like literally right on the way. And so that was the only reason we ever wanted to go to Myrtle's house. Sorry, Myrtle, rest in peace. But like that was the big reason, because we would go in there and we would buy the, you know, the latest Dungeons and Dragons books to come out, or the pewter figurines that we could take home and paint badly. Like that was like a real big deal. And so like the fact that he owns like a chain of those stores was pretty awesome. So we got into a little bit of nerdery and geekery, and it was a good conversation. Talked about some supply chain issues, but I figured since this is Black Friday, you know, I want to rewind a bit. I hit my microphone stand. We talked about some supply chain issues, and like, you know, which was not a direction I was expecting that conversation to go. My dogs were barking and whining the entire goddamn time. And yeah, so future reference, if I ever do an interview at my house again, it will be in my sun porch where the dogs won't even know that someone's over. But man, I knew there would probably be some background noise. I didn't expect it to be that much. So, but you know what? Honestly, I just did the initial. It was a rough edit, but I did an edit of it last night. just so Cliff could have an idea as to what we would be talking about today. And honestly, like, as anal as I am about background noises, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would.
And once you get into the conversation, it's fun. And then if anything, it's just a little humorous because it's just that one dog that's whining.
Yeah.
You can just tell it can see it. Please give me attention. Please.
And that was the new guy. That was the new guy that we just got. So, and there was one point, I took this out of the interview, obviously, but I live in a split level house. So like we're in the basement. And, a split level house, basically, for those of you who don't know, you have like 5 or 6 steps to go from like the basement to the mid level. And then like 5 or 6 more steps to go to the upstairs. Like, so like there's an opening in the wall, like at the floor level for the main level, but like kind of window height for the basement. And there's an opening in the wall to like just let light through, and there's like bars across it. But that dog was trying to climb through a lamp and through those bars just to get to us. And like I stopped the interview and I was looking at him like, that's not gonna end well. So I had to like just stop the interview for just a second and stuff a pillow in there so he couldn't get through. And then like for the last 5 minutes of the interview, I just said, screw it. He's going to start chewing on this gate. Let's just let him down here. So I was like playing with him for the last 5 minutes of the interview. So anyway, but yeah, we talked about like, Dungeons and Dragons and, trading cards and like just, and like one of the questions that I really wanted to ask was like, how do you fend off the big box stores, like for this niche stuff? And like the one answer is it's niche, but the other answer is, he brought up a good point. He's like, we offer the kind of personal service that you're never going to get at a Target or a Walmart. We've got people that walk in that say, oh, hey, Marty, how you doing? I'm looking for this, Pokemon card. And, I don't have that in, but you know what? I can special order one for you and I'll call you when it comes in. You don't get that from like Target. If at Target, you're lucky if you get like, do you have one of these in the back? You're lucky if they actually walk away from you before they come back and say no.
I think it's kind of like the way comic book stores are still staying alive in this era, right?
Oh, I need to talk to a comic book shop owner. You know what? I think Ryan's going to have a hookup for me there. I think I got to talk to Ryan about getting me to talk to, because that's like, you're right. It's another niche area that like, major, big box stores haven't.
I've seen those kind of stores combined before.
Oh, sure, definitely. And like, and when you go to his store, it's a very eclectic combination of like really disparate type of stuff. Like, because you've got the Pokemon, you've got the Dungeons and Dragons, you've got that kind of stuff that you expect. But you've also got like Poppets. Like my daughter loves going there because he's got the Poppets, and he's got like baseball memorabilia and football memorabilia there. Like he's got a couple of photos of like the Cubs winning the World Series, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't expect that to find at a gaming store, but it's kind of cool. And so it's just, it's like, it's what you got to do to like, just cater to as wide an audience as you can. I totally get that.
It was really interesting to me actually, because I did collect basketball trading cards back in the early 90s until probably the like 90 to 94. And the fact that he basically said, which is so true. And I kind of knew it, but,
basically worthless.
Basically because that was like when it was like mass production of whether it was baseball, football, or basketball.
Yeah.
I even have like a relatively rare card. So, but it's like, I think when it came out, and it was like in the scarcity, it was at a certain point, it was like $300 and something, which to me, when I was like 14, I was like, oh, and now I think it's worth like 35 if you go look at a Beckett Basketball Monthly.
No, so like I've got an autographed Andre Dawson rookie card, which nice. I think should, because I mean that was like 76 was his rookie card, I think, rookie year, 70 in the 70s. So like, and it's autographed. So like I think that's gonna have some stuff. And I believe I have a Mark Grace autographed card somewhere, like an autographed rookie card somewhere. So like, yeah, I've got a couple of things that could potentially pull in some bucks. But like, obviously Cub centric because that's how I roll. But and I think I had I have a Mark McGuire
Oh, wow.
USA baseball team card, which was
Hmm.
technically his rookie card because the USA baseball team was 1 year before his rookie debut in the league.
Right.
So like at the time, I know a lot of people considered that to be his rookie card. Yeah, I don't know if that's still the case, but I've got those somewhere. I honestly don't know where they are. I do know I have them, but they're in a box somewhere. And so
It's
like
the same thing with me in my house. So, you know, I have all those storage buildings out there. They're out there
yeah,
somewhere. So we'll see. But
So
to me, what was interesting, just as an aside, when talking about, and I told you before the podcast, I only got to listen to about half of that of the audio that you shared with me. But I don't know if you guys discussed NFTs specifically in trading
Oh
cards.
no, not even touch. Didn't even touch it.
But just it's actually something I purchased because there is a company called NBA Top Shot that is doing NFTs like NBA trading cards, and there's a whole market where and they come out with like specific packs. Yes, you actually can pop a pack open digitally, and then it just pops up. Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm not going to invest a whole lot of money into it, but because I mean that the packs can be $200 plus, depending on like how special they are. But then I technically can go and sell them. So it is interesting that that's how it's kind of transitioning to. I don't know, how long, or if it's something that's permanent, but that's I could see that kind of NFTs are just it's kind of like the metaverse to me. I'm just kind of like on the outside looking in, like that's interesting. I'm not sure what it's all about, but this I actually like spent a few bucks and bought some just because you just don't know what's going to be worth something.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Well, let me say that again. Because you just don't know, what something is going to be worth 10 years from now. It could be nothing. So we'll see.
Well, and this coming weekend, actually, I'm talking about a company, like in the news rundown, I'm talking about an NFT company that is trying to start basically what amounts to a music label as an NFT company. So that the idea is they want to give a lot more control and frankly, a lot more money to the artists and less to the label, because like so much of music these days is digital. Like, they're not printing CDs anymore. They're not shipping these CDs to stores anymore. It's basically like digital music and touring is basically where artists are getting their money. And like, it's still, despite the fact that there's very little overhead to actually making a music album these days, music labels are still collecting like 80% of an artist's salary, and
touring
it's ridiculous.
Is where all the money is.
And so this company is trying to use NFTs and like, I thought there was an interesting way, interesting potential to like, have an artist make a new song and just sell the NFT of that new song. Like you can put it out on the internet to be downloaded for free, but like only like 1,000 people will be able to own this song. That's not what they're doing. They're actually doing something else where they I don't know, give away NFTs, and like you can get one of the NFTs and like you can get a percentage of the royalties or something. It's really weird how they're doing it. But
so they're almost doing it like a Kickstarter kind of thing where you get a certain
like a crowdfunding kind of thing. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, so you're one of those people that bought an NFT. Good to know. But so I mean, NFTs are something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, obviously. Right. But they're not really a thing. Okay, anyway, I'm coming up against my hard stop, and I know Cliff wants to get going. He's got a whole weekend worth of stuff to go. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here for the Doubting Thomas monthly recap for November of 2021. And I can't believe we only have 1 month left in this year. That is just so crazy, and it's just kind of blowing my mind a little bit. But yeah. So the next time, or as you hear this, I should say, I will be gainfully employed through Digital Trends. So that's where all my writing is going to be. So, digitaltrends.com. And I don't know what my profile is going to be because I think everything's changing now that I'm a freelancer. But yeah, just, Dead Technology on Twitter. So check that out. I'll probably be doing a lot of shameless self-promotion there. And of course, you can find Cliff at Clifton M. Thomas on the Twitters. And coming up next month, it's going to be a weird month. We've got David Ruddock is coming on to talk about Esper and what he does. And that dude can talk. But anyway,
Indeed.
so he's coming on to talk about Esper and what they're doing over there. I've got a review of a Lenovo laptop coming up in the middle of the month. And then we've got our last Beyond a Dowd this coming month when we're going to have Ricky Villacrez on as kind of like, and the reason I wanted to get him was because like he was there for the end of the year podcast last year. So I figured it was like a nice way to bookend 2021. That will not be the last episode that you will hear. Why do I have that for December 19th? That doesn't make any sense at all. Huh. Oh, yeah, no, it does make sense. Actually, I'm sorry. That will not be the last episode that you hear that year, but that'll probably be the last episode that we record for 2021 because we're going to have we're going to have the Doubting Thomas monthly recap, and then we're going to have a special edition of the Doubting Thomas yearly recap in December of 2021. So it's going to be a crazy month with a very odd release schedule. So try to keep up, subscribe in your podcast player. And one other thing, this coming weekend, but 10 days ago, but if you haven't gotten in your entry for the contest, for the giveaway, Lenovo hooked us up with a few fun little devices. Nothing like mind-blowing, but still, we got some cool stuff that, maybe you can get for free. And then I'm sorry, once again, that this is US only and Canada only. I can open up Canada too. I was looking at shipping rates, but like seriously, anywhere else in the world, it's insane. But
especially right now.
Yeah, but US and Canada, if you leave a review for this podcast, take a screenshot of it and send it to contest@benefitofthedowd.com. So that will be one entry. And once again, take a screenshot of a review that you have left for this podcast. It can be on Apple. It can be on Podcast Addict, it could be on Podchaser, and it could be on Castbox, I believe is the last one. So any of those 4 places, leave a review for the podcast, take a screenshot of it, send me the screenshot at contest@benefitofthedowd.com. That is one entry. All patrons automatically have one entry because they don't have to do anything. They don't even have to do anything to enter this contest. But if you're a patron and you take a screenshot of a review, that's 2 entries. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these entries. I'm going to use a random number generator, and whatever random number comes up, bingo bango, it's going to be yours. So we have a Lenovo tablet. We have a Lenovo smart clock. We have a Lenovo multi-device mouse, and we have a Lenovo wireless keyboard. So check those. If you want to try to win those, we're going to run the podcast. We're going to run the contest through the month of December. So like December, it won't be December 31st because I'll be at the Magic Kingdom on December 31st. But shortly thereafter, when I get home, I will run the random number generator and announce the winners. Probably on the next Doubting Thomas monthly recap. Not the next one because that'll be December, but for like maybe the one for January or something, we'll do that. So that'll also be in the midst of CES because I just, I can't just do one crazy thing. I got to do a lot of crazy things all at once because that's how I roll. But anyway, so contest@benefitofthedowd.com. Leave a review for this show. Take a screenshot. Send it to that email address. You get an entry, and maybe you can win something neat. And I'm sorry, it's US only and Canada only, but man, it just costs so much to ship anywhere, like literally anywhere else in the world. So maybe one of these days I can do a contest like going up to MWC where I can just mail it from MWC. So like I can just, I can open up to Europe because if I mail it from Barcelona, it's not nearly as expensive. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we're doing, and so that's going to be my contribution to my listeners for your happy holidays to you, and also happy holidays to everybody because we've got a number of different holidays coming up. Maybe you celebrate, maybe you don't, and if you don't, happy December because this year's almost over, and so it's almost time for New Year's Eve, which is fun too. So anyway, I've been rambling for a long time, so I'm going to say goodbye. So anyway, no. So I've been rambling for a long time. So this is the part where I'm just going to wrap everything up, and I'm going to thank you for listening, and as always, for giving us the benefit of the doubt.
All right.